Chapter 382. Half Immortal Armament 2. I'm afraid that this was one of the strangest battles in the cultivation world, and the location of the battle was actually in the middle of the heavenly tribulation. I don't know how long it took, but the heavenly tribulation finally dissipated, and eldest brother and crazy demon king was still fighting, their bodies covered in blood, yet each strike was still shocking to the heavens. As for the dozen or so combined stage seal king powerhouses, 3 of them had already fallen, and the rest were surrounded by eldest senior brothers Dharma gods and Tao gods, and were in a stalemate. However, no matter what, these dozen or so combined stage seal king powerhouses had finally supported the might of the heavenly tribulation, and their hearts couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But right at this moment, a terrifying pressure from the sky descended down, and in the dazed gazes of eldest senior brother and the others, that originally dissipated tribulation cloud coalesced once again. And although it was not as strong as the one just now, it was still not to be underestimated. Even as powerful as the mad demon king, at this moment he couldn't help but curse out loud. The scene in front of him was simply speechless. The dozen or so combined stage seal king powerhouses, on the other hand, were even filled with pitch black faces, almost vomiting blood in anger. Good chance. The descent of the second wave of heavenly tribulation was very depressing for the crazy demon king's side. But for eldest senior brother, it was an opportunity. He was surrounded by people, and fell into a disadvantageous position. Yet this heavenly tribulation was a great help to him. Just now the heavenly tribulation has already let the dozen or so merging stage sealing king powerhouse seriously injured, but also fell a few people, this time even if it will not be completely wiped out, or not much better. Without the drag of the dozen or so conjunction stage seal king powerhouses, with the mad demon king alone, eldest brother was not afraid at all. Therefore, taking advantage of the opportunity of the heavenly tribulation, eldest brother's ferocious power flourished, fending off the crazy demon king while attacking the dozen or so harmonization stage seal kings with all his might. The pitiful dozen or so of the harmonization stage seal king powerhouses, who were originally simple to resist the heavenly tribulation, were suddenly in danger under eldest senior brother's attack. In just a few moments, one of them fell under the heavenly tribulation. The mad demon king roared in anger, but there was nothing he could do, so he could only desperately attack eldest senior brother outside the immortal mansion, while eldest senior brother and the others were in tragedy due to the descent of the heavenly tribulation. Little Gold and Brahma Heart on the Yellow Springs Road had already successfully advanced to the divine separation stage, and they were overjoyed. After breaking through the divine separation stage, Zijin, Fandin, and Zhao Linger's strength had increased a lot, directly reaching the divine separation stage, Seal King level. This kind of strength was considered top-notch in the cultivation world. Kang Chia couldn't help but feel a little envious, but thinking of Emperor Don's reminder, he decided not to break through his realm within the immortal mansion. Soon, when Fandin and Little Gold stabilized their cultivation, they once again hit the road. This time they were much more relaxed, with the 3 great divine separation stage Seal King powerhouses to open the way. The crises they encountered along the way all turned out to be safe, and they smoothly arrived at the end of the Yellow Spring Road a month later. At the end of the Yellow Spring Road, there was a platform, and on top of the platform was a crystal ball. Zhao Linger was very curious and reached out to wipe it away. The crystal ball instantly gave off a blinding light. A few people couldn't help but close their eyes. Soon they felt the light dissipate and started to open their eyes. But they saw a majestic middle-aged man standing in front of them. Broken Dawn scattered Immortal. Kang Chon's mind suddenly heard the Dan Emperor's exclamation of surprise. The identity of the mighty man in front of him was revealed without a doubt. It was actually the legendary Broken Dawn scattered Immortal. However, Kang Tia knew that this was only the remnant god left behind by the dawn-breaking scattered immortal, which had only manifested because it had sensed Zhao Linger's touch. My name is breaking dawn. The mighty man spoke, instantly letting several people know his identity, although it was only a remnant god. But that aura of arrogance against the heavens still pressed Kang Tia and the others to gasp for air. This is the might of a generation of the supreme loose immortals. Posterity brat. Perhaps it was due to the fact that it had been too long. The remnant god of the dawn-breaking scattered immortal spoke somewhat intermittently, and it was not until a few moments later that he got better. Kang Tia and the others listened attentively. They knew that the broken dawn-scattered immortal had left behind the remnant god and was bound to have something important to inform them. Being able to come here is that you have already passed the Yellow Springs Road test, but you must not be too happy too soon, because there are still 2 more tests behind you, and only by passing all of them will you be able to receive this immortal's inheritance. Broken Dawn Scattered Immortal said. Kang Tia and the others' hearts tightened. Sure enough, this inheritance wasn't that easy to obtain. There were even 2 more tests. It looked like it was even tougher than the Yellow Springs Road. If it wasn't for the Brahma Heart Trio breaking through the divine separation stage, even Kang Tia didn't have the certainty of passing the following test. After pausing for a moment, the dawn-breaking scattered immortal spoke again. Don't worry. This immortal is a diffuse immortal, not a diffuse demon. So even if you fail the test, you will be teleported out without falling. Kang Tia skimmed his lips. In that Yellow Spring Road, the little gold trio almost died. But that being said, even if the little gold trio were to fall, they would have died at his hands, and it had nothing to do with the dawn-breaking diffuse immortal. After giving the crowd a peace of mind, Dawnbreaker Scattered Immortal said once again, in addition to the final inheritance, this immortal has prepared some small gifts. For those who have passed each level, you will naturally know about it later. As soon as these words came out, Kang Tia and the others immediately breathed heavily, and their eyes reddened. Within being called a small gift by the dawn-breaking diffuse immortal, it was bound to be not simple, after all. The identity of the diffuse immortal was there. If the gift was too bad, I'm afraid that the dawn-breaking diffuse immortal himself wouldn't have the face to put it there. Old man, have a fart quickly put. Where is the gift? Where is it? Zijin instantly became anxious and yelled at the dawn-breaking scattered immortal. But this was only the remnant god of the Dawnbreaker scattering immortal, who directly ignored Zijin and said still calmly, in order to give you guys a bit of motivation, this immortal will first reveal a treasure placed in the final inheritance. Speaking here, a trace of pride flashed in the eyes of the Broken Dawn Scattered Immortal as he said smugly, that is a half-immortal artifact that this immortal had used back in the day when he had crossed the cultivation realm. Heaven-breaking blade. Hiss. Zijin's eyes immediately widened, his face full of shock. Brahma's heart was stupefied. Kang Tia was even more needless to say. His eyes were on fire and filled with yearning. How is it possible? Could it be that back then, he didn't take away the heaven-breaking sword, but placed it within this immortal mansion? If that's the case, then wouldn't he have expected that he would fall? And that's why he made such preparations. Emperor Dan was also shocked. There were only a handful of immortal artifacts in the entire Flood continent, no more than 10 of them, and they were either the treasures of the Great Sex or the weapons of some of the top powerhouses, and ordinary people simply didn't have the chance to possess them. As for the half-immortal weapon, which is only second to the immortal weapon, only some loose immortals and loose devils can refine it, and it is also very rare in the cultivation world. After all, the number of loose immortals and loose devils is originally not much. Although the power of a half-immortal artifact was not comparable to an immortal artifact, it surpassed some imperial treasure artifacts. and was definitely a supreme treasure in the cultivation world. Even if Emperor Dan was in his heyday, he wouldn't dare to wish for a half-immortal artifact. And even the law enforcement elders and cultivation elders, they only had imperial treasure artifacts, but not half-immortal artifacts. From this, one could see the preciousness of a half-immortal artifact. It was definitely of a treasure that made all cultivators boil. Brother, did I hear it right? The legendary heaven-breaking sword is actually in the Immortal Mansion. Little Gold was shocked. It seems that the Dawnbreaker scattered Immortal has fooled many people. Otherwise, if the cultivation world knew that there was a Skybreaker knife within the Immortal Mansion, I'm afraid that us little guys wouldn't have a chance to get the Dawnbreaker Immortal order at all. Van Din sighed. Although the previous Immortal Mansion was precious, but the War Elders kind of ranked powerhouses hadn't looked at it after all. Their cultivation had already reached the extreme, and one step further would be the invincible Mahayana stage. No more or less than the loose immortals, so they didn't care. But if they were to know that there was a heaven-breaking sword within the Immortal Mansion, it would be different. In the absence of immortal artifacts, half-immortal artifacts were the most precious existence. Even the War Elders and the others would have to be red in the eyes. Brother, you're the one who makes swords. This heaven-breaking sword is completely customized for you, Little Gold said excitedly. With this blade, amongst the same rank, you'll have absolutely no opponents. Brahma Heart also congratulated. He did not have the luxury of this half-immortal weapon, after all. The Dawnbreaker Immortal Order was Kang Chom's. It would be good for him to come in and get some treasures. As for Little Gold, naturally, he wouldn't snatch the half-immortal artifact from Kang Chia. I'm a little impatient. Kang Chia also laughed, his eyes filled with a fiery light. Half-immortal weapon, oh, that was a treasure that even his master, Elder Law Enforcement, wanted to get.